Ethan's eyes snapped open to absolute darkness. The air was sterile, cold, and heavy with an unsettling silence. His body floated, weightless yet restrained. Panic set in. His breathing echoed in his helmet, and as his vision adjusted, he saw faint blue lights flickering around him, data streams running along the walls of what looked like a containment pod. The last thing he remembered was Earth, burning skies, collapsing cities, and the deafening roar of something unnatural tearing through reality itself. Now, he was here, adrift in an unknown void, imprisoned in a high-tech coffin. A mechanical hiss, followed by a voice crackling through his comms. Subject 073, consciousness detected, initiating neural scan. Ethan struggled. His limbs, restrained by unseen forces, trembled. Then came the pain, white-hot, piercing into his skull as his memories were forcefully accessed, scanned, and categorized. He screamed, but no one was there to hear. Chapter 2. The Facility of the Forgotten. When he regained awareness, Ethan was lying on a metallic slab inside a massive chamber. Rows upon rows of similar slabs stretched endlessly, each occupied by another human, unmoving, suspended in cryostasis. A tall, grotesque figure loomed over him. Its elongated skull glowed with pulsating circuits, its cybernetic eyes scanning him like a specimen under a microscope. "You are awake." The being spoke, its voice layered with artificial intelligence and something disturbingly organic. "Where am I?" Ethan croaked, his throat dry and raw. "You are in the last station of mankind's evolution," the creature responded, placing a clawed appendage against Ethan's forehead. A flood of information surged into his brain. Flashes of grotesque experiments, humans being merged with machines, and something far worse waiting at the core of the facility. He wasn't just a prisoner. He was an experiment. Chapter 3. The Horrors Beneath. As Ethan stumbled out of his chamber, alarms blared. Something had gone wrong. The facility was under emergency lockdown. The cybernetic overseers, the creatures that had imprisoned him, were in a frenzy. Something was loose. A guttural shriek split the air, and Ethan turned just in time to see a mass of writhing flesh and metal erupt from one of the cryopods. It was once human, now an abomination, its body twisted with mechanical tendrils, its mouth a gaping maw of sharp wires and fused bone. "They are waking up." A voice whispered through the facility's speakers. "Run." Ethan didn't need a second warning. Chapter 4. Escape from the Abyss. Ethan bolted through the corridors, his pulse hammering in his ears. The walls pulsated as if the facility itself were alive. The mutated creatures, once humans, screeched behind him, their distorted forms barely resembling their former selves. He reached a terminal and frantically typed in commands. The station's map appeared, showing a possible escape route, a docking bay at the far end. But between him and salvation, an entire sector of horrors lurked. Taking a deep breath, he sprinted into the darkness. Chapter 5. The Last Human Experiment. As Ethan neared the escape bay, an enormous cybernetic entity blocked his path. This was the architect, the being responsible for the experiments, for the horrors, for everything. "You were chosen," it droned, its voice echoing in his skull. "You are the last subject, the final evolution. Accept your place." Ethan raised a stolen plasma cutter. "I choose freedom." The battle was brief, but violent. Sparks and flesh clashed. The architect shrieked as Ethan plunged the weapon into its core, destabilizing the entire facility. He barely made it into the last escape pod before the station imploded into oblivion. Chapter 6. The Lonely Void. Drifting in the endless dark, Ethan looked back at the wreckage. He was free, but alone. The stars stretched infinitely before him. Then, his pod's distress beacon flickered. A reply came through. "We've been waiting for you." His heart pounded. The voice sounded human. But was it? He activated the pod's communication system, scanning for any identifiable source. "Who are you?" Ethan asked cautiously. "A survivor, like you. But we are running out of time. We need to meet." Before Ethan could respond, his pod jerked violently, being pulled toward an unseen vessel. Chapter 7. The rescue that wasn't Ethan's pod docked inside a massive derelict spaceship. As he stepped out, eerie silence filled the air. His footsteps echoed in the metallic corridors. Then he saw them, the crew. They were human once, but now something else. Their eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and their bodies carried the marks of forced augmentation. "You were never meant to leave," one of them whispered, stepping forward. The realization hit him. This wasn't a rescue. It was another experiment. Chapter 8. The Mind Cage. A voice echoed through the ship, whispering into his mind. The ship wasn't just a vessel. It was alive, an organism feeding off the minds of its passengers. Ethan felt his memories slipping, his thoughts blending with a consciousness far older than humanity. Fighting against it was like resisting the ocean's tide. He had to break free. Chapter 9. A Deal with the Unknown. A shadowed figure approached him, its face constantly shifting between people he had known. "You want freedom? We offer something greater. Transcendence." Ethan faced a choice. Accept the unknown or fight for his humanity. He clenched his fists. "I won't become one of you." The figure grinned. "Then run." Chapter 10. The Revolt of the Lost. Rallying. The last remnants of human consciousness trapped aboard, Ethan led a rebellion against the ship's ancient intelligence. The battle raged not in the physical world, but within the very fabric of the ship's neural network. If they won here, they would be free, but failure meant complete assimilation. Chapter 11. The shattered illusion reality itself cracked. Ethan found himself standing on Earth again. Or was it an illusion? The ship had one last trick, to make him doubt his own existence, his past, his memories, his very identity. Were they real? Or had he always been a part of the experiment? Chapter 12. The Final Escape. With his mind intact, Ethan triggered the ship's core meltdown. As the vessel disintegrated, he was ejected into space, once again adrift. A new beacon appeared on his radar, a familiar voice. "Ethan, come home." But whose voice was it? Was he truly free? Or was this just another layer of the experiment? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories.